Well, I think so too, and it's a beautiful picture of him up on the tree at the moment. So there's a couple cars that are wanting to come into this area, and there's one car that's with us, and it's why we've got our light on. Rather than having a big bright spotlight into him, we've just got a nice little soft kind of gentle spread floodlight instead, which is lighting him up beautifully against this dark blue sky, and also is far less intrusive on his eyes, particularly because it looks like that one eyelid just can't close at all. And so instead of the others shining spotlights, which would really impact our infrared, we've trying to kind of help everybody out and do a little bit of a better job in terms of using a bit of a flood rather than a spot. And it seems to be working nicely. But look, he's going to sleep now. So you can see there's a membrane that closes over his eye, but his eyelid itself does not close properly. Now, that can be quite dangerous for a cat. It can cause a lot of issues with their eyes. It can cause permanent damage. The sun obviously is not good for an eye, and obviously they also get dust and dirt and all kinds of things, particularly when it's windy. So probably has a lot of issues with that eye. It's not ideal. At least there's a bit of a membrane that closes, but his eyelid is definitely damaged, that it doesn't close properly. So there we go, he's fallen asleep. So even though you can still see a glint on that membrane, he is actually closing his eyes completely as much as he possibly can at this stage. And it's quite creepy that he's sleeping with his eye open. It gives a new meaning to sleeping with one eye open, doesn't it? But how cool is that, that he's eventually gotten to the point where he has fallen asleep when we are within 10 meters of him and talking. Nancy, I wonder, it's quite an interesting thing to think about. I haven't seen him do it, and we don't know much about him, but I suppose in time we're going to gather some intel and see whether or not he does put a paw over his eye when he wants to sleep. But it seems as though for now he doesn't. But you can see his claw sticking out there too, which is quite cool. So he's got one of his claws kind of poking out. It's probably the way that his sort of front leg is resting over that branch. It's just causing a bit of oppression, pulling that tendon and exposing that claw a little bit. But his claws are quite sharp, looking fairly good. They're quite brown in color, which would indicate a little bit of age. I would like to actually see his mouth open, try and see his teeth a little bit. That would also be quite useful for an age indication, to know exactly kind of how old he is. But he seems like a sleepy cat, and it can't be a very comfortable position that he's in. It doesn't look comfortable at all. You need to learn from the leopard that's with you here, Umfocazi. You need to get yourself a meat pillow rather than a meat couch. You need a meat pillow for your head, because you're kind of using it the wrong way around. If you put that on your sort of head side, it'll be far more comfortable than if it's on your legs. So you'll have to learn from the youngsters and the new kids on the block. Shame. It was very cute though. It was very cool to see, and I'm thoroughly stoked that we're all happy that we managed to get as close as we have and to get a picture like that. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's beautiful. I think that blueness and him kind of just sitting in the boughs of that marula is as good as we could have asked for, and he really is taking it very easy. Now, unfortunately, like I said just now, there are a number of cars that do want to come here to have a look at him, just because he's obviously relaxed a little bit. And so we're going to try and limit the number of cars here, and that there's not too much movement and chase him. And so I'm going to leave and allow then one other car to come in, and we'll just rotate the cars one by one through this little area. So it's been very cool to spend time with him, but unfortunately that's going to be the end of the evening for us. And so while we do that, let's send you across to Sydney, who's still sitting with little Hosanna.